Today we are talking about one of my most favorite topics, crepe myrtles. More specifically, we are talking about pruning, or should I say improper pruning of crepe myrtles. And what do you do if that's what you have? You didn't know better, and now you have this tree that you want to fix. So when I say crepe myrtle, what comes to mind for you? For me, it is the magnificence of summer. It encapsulates everything magical about summer. Summer is my favorite season. In my mind, I can see the beautiful colors of the blooms. And when the wind blows, the petals of the blooms just flying through the air. There is a tree crepe myrtle and there's a shrub crepe myrtle. The tree crepe myrtle is what we are talking about in this video. They come in many different colors and many different heights. Crepe myrtles are grown somewhere in zone 7 and warmer. They are a warm season tree. They lose their leaves in the wintertime, so they are deciduous. So when I say crepe myrtle pruning, what comes to mind? Do you imagine yourself cranking up the chainsaw and going outside and giving it a flat top? Do you imagine yourself getting your pruners and just neatly pruning it? Or do you go outside, stand in front of it and say, I have no idea what to do? Well, today, my treat for you. I have a friend who I worked with at a commercial landscape company, the biggest in the nation. He is a certified arborist. Chase is going to talk with us about pruning techniques, improper pruning techniques of a crepe myrtle, what you're looking for, reasons why you want to prune, and ways you can improperly prune. And then if you have taken the chainsaw because you didn't know better, you know, they say when you know better, you do better. I fully believe that you didn't know better, so you didn't know that cutting it off at giving it a flat top was not the best idea. So today what I want to do is give you the opportunity to listen to a professional, a certified arborist, and I'm going to ask him questions, and I hope you will listen. There are some things that he talks about that I didn't know. I also love that there is a way that you can begin to make things right with the tree, even if it has been done in the past. That gives me hope, and I hope that passes that on to you. I've had so many of you ask me questions. If you are new here, my name is Kim. I am in North Carolina zone, I'm always going to say this, 7B, but now 8A, and I want to welcome you. If you have returned, maybe you're one that prompted this video, and I hope this will help you. So my only ask of you is that you enjoy and you listen, but that you leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you feel like this was great and helpful for you, or if you're still left wondering. This is a professional. He knows what he's talking about. We all can have opinions, but he knows what he's talking about, okay? So whether you agree with him or not, that's up to you. I do know that there is so much research that has gone into this, and pollarding is a technique that is intentional pruning that is done to some types of trees. Crepe myrtle and pollarding are not the same, and that is not what we're talking about today. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's great. Let's just rock on. Okay, so we're going to go over to one of my best friend's houses. Her husband took a chainsaw and chopped her crepe myrtles off a couple of years back. He didn't know better, and so I thought that would be the perfect place to meet up with Chase. And don't forget, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Great videos coming soon. All right, let's go. This is Chase with Xylem Tree, and he is going to give us all of his wisdom and knowledge on crepe myrtle pruning. We're going to specifically talk about crepe myrtle. Just talking with him, I already have learned so many things. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
So can you tell us about crepe myrtle pruning? Is it necessary to prune a crepe myrtle every single year? As a rule of thumb, going out and pruning your crepe myrtle, your average 8-foot crepe myrtle, say.
Most crepe myrtle pruning happens because somebody looks down the road and sees that their neighbor did it, and the neighbor cut it off at 5 feet, does it every year, so I'll do mine that way. That must be right. The problem with that is it is completely unnecessary and unhealthy for the tree. So as a general practice, if you have a crepe myrtle, they do require some maintenance, but not to the degree that you'll often see your neighbors.
When you say they do require some maintenance, talk about that.
Typically thrive in landscapes that we plant them in. So you're going to get a ton of growth, and that's at the base of the tree as well as in the canopy. So a lot of times you'll get sucker growth out of the roots, and this will not only grow up but out.
So I wanted to pause and show you what suckers look like at the base of crepe myrtles. So when Chase talks about suckers, these are what he is talking about coming from the base. Here are suckers coming from where a branch had fallen off of the tree on the side. So you can also see suckers are not just at the base, but anywhere the tree is cut. So as he refers to suckers throughout his discussion, this is what he is talking about.
So in most cases, you don't want it to take over from a width standpoint. So pruning around the base of the tree, sucker growth growing out of the root zone, things like that are good because those are going to turn into bigger branches, and you're going to get something that doesn't look so much like a tree as just an overwhelming bush in your landscape. So that's one thing I would consider pruning at the base where you get sucker growth. Also, you're always going to get lateral limbs that are growing out seeking sunlight. A lot of times these are near sidewalks or areas where cars go by. So I would look for limbs that are just growing straight out that are going to get bigger and be more problematic, and try to prune those off.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the crepe myrtle. That is the process of taking and just chopping straight across, right? What does that do to the tree? Why is that not okay?
Yeah, so the reason a lot of people do it is once you do that type of pruning and cut it off at a certain height, what you see then is this enormous sprout of growth. So it's a responsive growth from the tree. It's putting out a lot of sucker growth to try to recover from basically what would be an injury to the tree. And what people fool themselves into thinking is that I'm creating a more flowered and bushy and vibrant tree. But that's not the case. You're taking away main leads on the tree and causing wounds that the tree is going to have a lot of difficulties overcoming. This particular tree, it's actually happened multiple times at different levels. So right here, we see kind of a bulging growth where the response from the tree has been to put out multiple new shoots. In this case, 3 main ones, a 4th one, and then a couple around it. And then up about 3 more feet, you can see that it's been pruned again. And the same type of thing, it almost looks like fingers coming out of your hand. You see it pop out, and it typically goes straight up.
Here's another example of what Chase is talking about where they go straight up.
In both instances, the tree was cut at that point and then put out this responsive growth. This growth is way less stable and healthy than the growth that was there before it was pruned. You had one strong main lead that had branches coming off of it. Now, instead of that one strong main lead, we have 3 to 4 weaker leads. If this has happened to your tree, it's not a total loss. It can be recovered. What needs to happen is you need to identify of what is now here, what is the strongest main lead that grew out of that cut. All right? So this was pruned in here potentially multiple times, but at least once. You get this bulging like fist look and then the multiple leads. Ideally, you would identify the strongest main lead coming out of this area, which in my opinion is this one. And I would prune these 2 away. Over time, this will get healthier and stronger and almost, not completely, but over time make it look like that never happened. You then go above that to where it's happened again, and you can do the exact same thing. Establish a main lead, you'll get branches off of that main lead, and you'll get a strong growth from the base of the tree to the top of the tree for other limbs to grow and thrive off of.
All right, so this right here, and notice these
Go ahead.
All around. So can you speak to those?
Yeah, so right here is a beautiful example of pruning cuts being made, but not at the correct place.
Okay.
So a cut was made here, and it basically killed the limb, but you're still left with the residual of where that cut was made. So when we make pruning cuts, you want to make it right at the bark collar. When you make it right at the bark collar, the tree is very good at compartmentalizing, shutting off that area, and growing over that area. 5 years from now, it'll be like it was never there. When proper pruning cuts are made, you'll see something like this in the future, or this rather than this. So this is not productive. It's not healthy for the tree. The pruning should have just been done here, closer to the bark collar, so that the tree can focus on growing in a healthier way. It probably spent time, energy, resources trying to save this, which could have been put somewhere else.
So what do you do now? What do you do with that? Do you cut it off?
I would make a pruning cut.
You would?
Yes.
Okay. If you have a base, which most of them do, with all of this at the bottom, is it best to go in and cut and keep just your central leaders, your main trunks? Yes?
So,
okay.
in my opinion, I think the tree looks healthier and stays healthier if you don't have a ton of growth touching the ground. When you have limbs and leaves that are still connected to the tree and that close to the ground, you leave the opportunity for splashing of fungus and disease off the ground and onto the leaves, back and forth. Whereas my preference would be to make cuts so that you have some separation between where the limb structure starts and where the ground is.
Going back to the crepe murder and what can happen in those open wounds when you make that cut across, what are you seeing now that you didn't see in the past?
Yeah, it used to be, it was not quite as big a deal to go slash your crepe myrtle because nothing really affected them. You could do whatever you want to it. It would still grow back the next year, look exactly like it did before, other than the shape had changed. Now, there's a pest called crepe myrtle bark scale that's made its way up here from the south. And when you make aggressive cuts and aggressive wounds in the tree, that's where those insects attack. So you'll see white specks, which are the bugs, on those cuts, and then you'll see black, which is their residue or waste, on the tree. And you can drive by parking lots now where trees are planted in parking lot islands, or entrances to a lot of shopping centers where they're getting a lot of heat stress. And they've murdered them. And you'll see that the tree is almost black. So not only are you going to have the tree be unsightly from the standpoint of it was pruned incorrectly, but now it's going to be attacked by insects. Turn the tree black. It also drips down, so if you had nice flowers in your flower bed under the tree, it can turn those black too. And now you're looking at having to treat the tree to kill bugs, which are only there because you were mean to the tree to begin with.
and it stresses the tree. I mean, it's stressful for it to...
It is 100% a stressful issue on the tree because now resources are being spent to try to fight off the pest, and you're not going to get the flowers like you typically would.
So that brings me to the very good. That leads me to the next. That brings me to the next round of questions. A lot of people say that flowers, they look better after the tree has been cut so harshly, and that it doesn't seem to affect the look and the appearance when the flowers are wet and it's so heavy, it doesn't seem to matter. Can you speak to that?
Well, I think when you do aggressively cut the tree, what you're getting is responsive growth all in one place. So people see like a bushier look to the tree, and I think that's often confused with the tree being healthier and more vibrant. When the tree is healthy and more vibrant, you're going to see flowers all over the tree instead of these bushy locations from the responsive growth. So in my opinion, it may look healthier, but I think it's just it's more or less that you're confused on what you're seeing.
So, and I've noticed that when you have the smaller finger looking branches coming out, that they're weaker and the flowers seem to droop, the branches, because it's heavy.
100%. You don't have the strong central leaders that have been growing for years and years and years,
right,
to provide like a skeleton or a support structure to the tree. So I've seen them where they've been pruned and the responsive growth comes out, and then whatever weather conditions that year play a part in it, all the responsive growth is just this droopy, saggy limb structure that will struggle in the future to even put off new growth. So not only is it a problem for that season, but it could be a perpetual problem.
Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions. And as I said in the beginning, please put any questions that you may have in the comments. And in another video, I'll show you how to properly prune. I have another video that you can go check out that I'll link below. So thank you so much. Any parting words you want to say?
Absolutely. So you'll see crepe myrtles planted in a lot of places, commercial settings and residential settings. A lot of times those trees are pruned in an improper way because they have to fit a certain standard. They're blocking a sign, or they could be in a shopping center where all the businesses are lined up right there, and every one of their signs is being blocked by a tree that somebody planted 12 years ago without the foresight of what was going to happen. It was a required tree at the time, and now it's a problem, so let's do this. That doesn't mean that that was the right thing to do for that species of tree. It was required or had to be done to kind of compromise with what was there and what's happening now. So proper pruning practices with your tree. You have a healthy tree for a really long time. A thriving crepe myrtle that's worth a lot in the landscape is often one that looks like a tree at the base and then umbrellas out at the top, as opposed to one that looks bushy, that's been hacked over time and has just widened and got spindly limb structure.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
What did you think? Was that so helpful? And wasn't Chase full of so much wisdom? I want to thank Chase for being a guest on this video. You guys, don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and go out, get your hands dirty, and look for the pruning video, proper pruning techniques coming up. And also winter sowing. It's time to get going. So I hope you will check those out. And I will see you in another video soon. Have a great day.